Hello again! It is time to make some Mechazors. So this is a list from a player called Awruko. I hope I pronounced that right. Who sent me it on Discord in the hope that I'd be, still looking for recommendations to play stuff, which I sure am. Kind of run out of ideas that I think, like my own ideas that I think are good at this point for Duelyst 2. So it's nice to get some from other people I can check out. So the idea behind this deck is that we have all the mechs. And we're going to try and make a Mechazor and then give it Rush with Vindicator for a huge burst of damage. And, hopefully a board clear on the opposing side. There's also some cards in here that are pretty reasonable with Vindicator in the first place, like Primordial Gazer, Void Hunter, Sword of Mechazor. These are all fine with Vindicator. And the list is fleshed out with a few interactive cards. We've got Eggmorph, Plasma Storm, Warbeast, Lightbender, Adamantite Claws. So just a little bit of good stuff to help round things out. On the cheapo side, we have Dampening Wave, a single Flash Reincarnation, 2 Graded Fortitudes, 2 Ether Masters, and 2 Kushatas, as well as the array of mechs, which vary between 1 and 2 copies. Interesting that they've gone for such a spread of different cards here. I guess it's hard to include enough interaction while also playing this many mechs. So I think this is a pretty sensible decision. But I think Flash Reincarnation is probably worth playing more of. Let's try the list as is, and then we'll see how things play out. And perhaps consider getting some extra flashes in there, or maybe some more removal if we're struggling to deal with things on the other side of the battlefield. Okay, well this opening hand is unplayable. We drew the Flash, that's pretty good. Vindicator, just playing Vindicator and passing seems pretty bad. They may have natural selection. I can body block them with the Wings of Mechazor. I want to replace to find something else to do. Another mech. It's possible that I should actually replace the Vindicator so that I can play it later on when I have something to play in the same turn. Cannon. Is that worth giving up the center of the board? Honestly, probably. Ether Master is okay here. Ether Master tends to be a bit awkward in that the problem I always had with it is that because you've got to replace anyway, replacing more is not really worth... Oh no, sorry opponent. Replacing more is not really worth an entire card. And 2 draw is probably a little better. Alright, we're going to play this Wings, probably move on to this mana tile. So that makes this free. Do I play the Ether Master and double replace? I think I do. Let's see how Ether Master plays out here. I want my Ether Master to be safe from my opponent. So I'm actually going to do this. This allows the Ether Master to take this mana tile next turn. Shoot my opponent in the face before I forget. Void Hunter looks pretty good here, actually. Do I flash this? 1 mana, draw 2. But it costs 2 cards. I actually think I do. I want Oh, I only get 1 mana, so I only Helm with Mechazor as a relevant draw. Probably isn't worth it. Okay. This would be a good place to draw a Vindicator. Lightbender might be a bit awkward in the list because a lot of our mechs, well, all of our mechs have Dying Wish or a lot of our means have dying wish triggers. Is where I was going with that. Okay, opponent has 4 mana now, so they could flash Mercantor me. I didn't play around that. Flash Mercantor over here would be pretty devastating, actually. Okay, they've drawn a Kajata, which I can't reach with my general, but I can shoot it. Makes sense. I guess I can dispel it. Are they useful? Don't need 2 of these. Second cannon isn't bad. I can dispel this, take the mana tile, do one other thing. At this point, I actually am tempted to flash Void Hunter. I might draw my own Greater Fortitude, which would be pretty sick. Ooh, need to actually play the flash first. The only problem is we don't have flash for the rest of the game. We did hit though. So I can Fortitude and Gazer, which Fortitude this one. We move back to the corner, kill that. Gazer this. Attack phase. Attack phase. Yeah, the Gazer will die, but that's not important. Alright, we've got a Vindicator. We've got a War Beast. We have 0 Mechazor progress, but that's fine. I definitely found when I was playing my Mechazor decks that you didn't really trigger Mechazor very often. What you did do was just cast Greater Fortitude on stuff and hit people in the face. And that seems to be the case here. Ooh. That is what we call fine. As Plasma Storms go, it could have been a lot worse. Why does like Mercantor for no value here? Probably not, right? I can do Kajata, Vindicator, Void Hunter. It's a lot of stuff, but it walks pretty hard into another Plasma Storm is the only problem. I think I actually do it. I think it's fine. This is also like just an absolute ton of damage. Oh, hey, look, Mechazor progress. Do I actually want to do this? Like, we're not going to complete Mechazor this game. Should play around War Beast a bit, right? Yeah, I don't think I throw that away. Oh, we got a second Vindicator anyway. Nice. So they can Plasma Storm me again, but then they die. So that's fine. Oh, excuse me. Sorry if I'm yawning. I'm very tired this week. The daylight savings just turned off in the UK, and I think the clock's changed combined with a relatively challenging work week has really wiped me out. Look at the tip, why not? Alright, we've reached the heady heights of silver. Let's go. Alright. Mirror again. Different player this time though. This hand looks pretty okay. Do I replace this early? I can only do one of these, which is awkward. I will replace this and say like a second 2-drop here. This is nice. We can deny some mana tiles. Alright. That's pretty fine. Do I care about this? Yeah, if I've got to be over here, I may as well have a ranged unit. Nice. Fortitude's good. Trying to the opponent, man. That makes me miss Frigid Corona. Like when I loved Frigid Corona when it could stun the opponent. It was quite sad when they nerfed that. I understand like reining in the power level, but at the time, it was kind of the only way to get like a Varth off you. You know, if your opponent was hitting you, or someone with a equipment or whatever, if your opponent was pressuring you, hitting you in the face, there weren't really a ton of options that you had for escaping. Especially, once you get close to a board edge or whatever. Because, you can put body blockers in the way or provokes and stuff, but people can, removal exists. People can just kill them. And especially playing against Magma, they have Lava Slasher, they have Warbeast, they have Natural Selection, Thumping Wave. There's I guess Thumping Wave doesn't work with provokes, but there's plenty of ways for them to kill your stuff and get past, Excuse me. Oh, wow. I'm playing against people who are just doing absolutely nothing, which is maybe distorting the performance of the deck somewhat. I mean, I just Kajata Cannon. I don't even bother with this, actually. I have access to plenty of mana. Okay, well, that didn't do anything. I should buff one of these, I guess, or save it for the cannon, perhaps. I'll just do this, I think. Do I need this to be a 3/6? I don't think so. And this is protected from natural selection, so I don't need to commit this yet. Gazer's a good draw as well. Bloodshot Golem, Fortitude. That's it, okay. Well, Gazer Fortitude on this just kills it outright, although I can send in the Wings of Vindiz0r and save one of the pumps. Do I want this? Probably want more than a Kujata. Okay, that's a good roll. We want that. In that case, I think I will not use the Gazer. I'll play the Void Hunter instead. So kill this. Position ourselves directly up in the opponent's grill. That's the turn. Oh, I think I forgot to attack them. Yeah, I did. Claws is a good draw. That's good pressure. For my next game, I'd like to play against someone who has early plays, so we can see how the deck performs. So I feel like we're getting some biased sampling here. Oh. I mean, I've been interested to see the developments from the Duelyst 2 team recently. So, for those unaware, they've launched a Kickstarter, which was funded very quickly. I think they successfully funded in a couple of hours, which is amazing. There's a very impressive achievement. They have added a bunch of stretch goals to the Kickstarter, some of which seem a little dubious. I think it is it's a trap for people to put big big stretch goals on things sometimes. We're just gonna kill that. I guess I may as well attack with this first to keep my. I'll pay 2 extra life to keep my wings alive. So it's a body. Just gazer this maybe. Can't target people with that. That would be funny. I can do Kujata. I can Vindicator the Primordial Gazer, actually. That doesn't seem terrible. I have lots of cards now, so this is fine. One of this. Vindicator here. Gazer this. We attack with this first. Then me. This runs away. Then this goes in. Oh, I messed up. If I'm going to attack with this, I may as well. I've saved it. Let's play around Warbeast on both of these, I guess. I don't think I need this. Dampening Wave is the sort of card that's like absolutely brutal sometimes, but okay, that's a pretty good Lightbender. They're down to 2 mana though. Let's talk about the Kickstarter. So we've got some kind of cool stretch goals. It's like they've announced sort of some different art for generals. There's like a roguelike mode they've announced that I think has been reached. And oops. What was the other one that was? Oh, they're gonna try and get like a good mobile UI in tournament client, in client tournament system, all this stuff. Quite a lot of stretch goals. So it'll be interesting to see how that forms and how, what they managed to pull off. I do think it's quite interesting that it funded so well and so quickly. Like the Duelyst fan base is alive and well. Flash early seems pretty good. That seems less good. I want minions. Cool. It's gonna be annoying. Here we go. Oh, nice. Chassis with this is pretty good. Spectral Blade. Ooh. Rip. Right, so we can... That's so correction. We can just play this and pass. Feels a bit bad. Cool. Got to assume this is aggro abyss. This is usually aggro. So maybe coming this far forward is bold. Not attacking face, huh? Okay. 2 Void Pulses down. No plays. How strange. How many charges do they have? They have 2 charges. So I can buff the Sword of Vindiz0r. We're not going to need this game. Warbeast is good. Ooh, what I can do is Jata on here, that leaves me with 3 mana. Take this, that leaves me with 4. Play this for 3. Buff the thingy. So, down here. Buff this up. Attack. Attack. Play this. Yeah, protect the Kajata. This is fine. We may actually complete Vindiz0r this game. We've got these 2 in play. One's already died, and we've got 2 more. Sarlacc. Assuming rebirth. Oh, okay, it's not aggro, it's meme deck. Having fun. Well, guess I win. This is 1-off lethal. Sorry. Nope, it's just lethal. 7, 8, 9, yeah. This definitely mirrors my previous experience with playing the Mac deck, which is the mechs don't matter. What's important, it turns out, is that you're playing Jata and Flash Reincarnation in 2-draw. So you just poop out absolutely whatever. You've got Greater Fortitude and Primordial Gazer, so you buff your minions up. Some of the mechs happen to have useful abilities here, like the 1/4 airdrop is kind of alright, because it carries buffs very well, and you can interfere with mana tiles. I'll die to Phoenix Fire. Well, yeah, everything for something to actually do on turn 1. Cool. Yeah, you just play whatever basically, and ramp spells, and you'll be in a good spot. I might actually replace this because I'm gonna play these two this turn. Okay, fine. Put the helm here because they can reach it. Sorry, wings here because they can reach it. We'll put the helm here because these are very hard for them to reach, and I can threaten to take. Oh god. This is the problem with the dampening wave, by the way. Draw it when this is the board state. I guess if they play a 5 attack, a 5 toughness minion here, I can just dampening wave and trade, but they're probably not going to do that. That's a very safe Chakri Avatar. Okay. Mist Dragon. Oh, okay. At some point, they're going to do a lot of damage to me, but not yet. Do I care about these claws? Probably more than the wave at this stage. Are we denying these mana tiles? Yeah, I may as well, right? May as well just play everything out. These died to Phoenix Fire when buffed, so I'll put on this. Now we need to draw... Well, I mean, this doesn't look terrible. We can play this next turn. And then we're only one mech death off Vindiz0r. And then we can do Vindicator Vindiz0r. 8 gates, oh boy. But that doesn't kill it. I mean, I respect this, right? My opponent is just like betting I can't kill this Chakri Avatar, which seems pretty safe against Magmar. Because they, natural selection doesn't work. And they played around that immediately, right? And at some point, maybe they'll find Mist Dragon Seal. I don't know what they're going to do, though, because, once they've gone in, I could theoretically Eggmorph it or Dispel it or whatever. I guess I just play this next to them and pass. Yeah, I think that's fine. How safe do I need to be? I think here is fine. I'll make them use a spell on the Chakri Avatar, and I will make them attack this. I'll save this because it's okay. We got the wings. So we've got a lot. We've got a final mech. Although I can't easily just kill it. Mechs with Lurking Fear would be kind of funny. What? Celestial Phantom. Just gonna trade with the inner focus, maybe? No? Okay. Well, I can kill this stuff now. Bodes poorly for my opponent. Ooh. And for once, my opponent isn't just dead, which is nice. The Vindiz0r is actually going to be maybe relevant this game. Hit this. I guess I'd rather have... No, the fact that this is Veil is quite strong. War Beast. Okay, do we have lethal next turn? Yes, I think so. 12. Yeah, we do. Unless they remove anything, obviously. So if the Vindiz0rs were the way that if the mechs were the way they were before, where they trigger the Vindiz0r build on opening Gambit instead of when they die, then we'd have a Vindiz0r right now. I like this change, to be clear. I think it's a good nerf to Mechazor. It makes it a bit more interactable. You can slow it down with Dispel and stuff. But as it is, I think the impact of that change is simply that, like, Mechazor almost never comes up. Okay, well, my opponent actually did stuff there, but kind of not really. But I like their thinking. There's definitely decks in Duelyst 1 towards the end where you would do that. Sort of kite around and wait and build up. Like if they were playing Mantra or something, right? They could have just killed me. But I don't think there's much in Duelyst 1. Like Mist Dragon sealing it as 7/8 Chakri Avatar several turns later is kind of cool if you get away with it. This looks fine, honestly. I guess I'll replace this just to... So I can play both of these on one. This is pretty fine as a way to kill the 4-drop or whatever. Man, so many missed turn 1s. It's just the way the mana curves work in this this edition. Okay, I think I'm going to double replace this now because I'm sure I can get more value out of... Yeah, that's probably worth keeping. I will body block here. Protects the Aethmaster and gives me more control over the center of the board. I can now get this coveted middle tile. Oh, never mind. That's me told. So I can punch that, play a Primordial Gazer to buff this. I really want another cheap creature to play on this mana tile so my opponent can't have it. Oh no, it's fine, I can move and then Gazer it anyway. So let's find something to do with the mana. No, I can't possibly use both mana tiles. Ooh, that's pretty good. I could just play this and pass. Like, buffing this Wings of Mechazor doesn't achieve too much, right? I'll just leave it where it is as a body blocker. This I would have played. Fine. Ooh. That's pretty good. I mean, I guess it's achieved its goal of making me have more cards in hand. So I can just replace it now. Cannon. I can do Sword plus Cannon or Gazer plus Cannon. I should probably start trying to get some max down at some point. I can put this here to play around Lightbender. They can't Lightbender in this tile here. Alright, we have loads of buffs for this for next turn. We have infinite buff. We can buff our entire board. No, we can't. We don't have the mana. We can buff our entire board if they kill this Wings of Mechazor, which they should at some point. It's just been standing in the way for like 3 turns, doing its little job. Okay. That's miles away, so I don't care. I mean, the temptation to claws up and go face is high, but I should not do that. In fact, they've got a deal test. Let's just replace that. Okay, fine. I think I just double buff this. It's a bit spooky if they have removal though. I'm gonna do it anyway. I could kill this duel. I probably should kill this duel test. Let's do that. And we'll see whether Tombstone lands, and maybe I want to buff this instead. I should have moved this first. That would have been sensible. Move this in and then kill the dual test, and then I can hit both. That was a reasonably substantial mistake. Yeah, I can protect this. Well, I can't protect this one, so that was wrong, actually. Yeah, I messed that turn up. When they're on 17, surrounded by was 8, 13, 15 powers worth of stuff. Jack's True Sight. Oh, they do have a provoke unit, actually. Okay, and they flash froze. Fine, opponent, you get to live for a bit longer. Although actually, wave. So if I dispel this with Lightbender, we have so 9, 11. Yeah, that's not enough. This Jax does look pretty good, but it probably isn't good enough. I think I do it. I think I play this. If I buff this, it might not die to the Jax tokens, although I can kill this one if I want. If I buff this, it hits harder and spreads the love a little bit. I think I'm going to do that. Cool. Given there's only one flash in the deck, I've drawn this a lot. Oh, excuse me. I wonder if there's a build that plays the sort of explosive early game stuff and like a build of Magma. I mean, it plays the sort of explosive early game stuff and then also a ramp payoff. Because so my first, oh, that's actually really good. Oh. Like it doesn't matter because my opponent's dead as a doornail next turn, unless they heal a bunch now. But that's pretty sweet. This is fun, actually. This game is actually interesting. I think a problem that happens with Duelyst 2 is that, especially in mid-range mirrors, all the turns feel the same. Cool. You know what isn't a spell? This. We just go face. I think I enjoy playing the aggro decks in Duelyst 2 more than the mid-range decks. Because I think the mid-range mirrors are pretty dry. We just have like, you know, because you never run out of cards ever, and all the minions are kind of clunky, it's like someone plays a big-ish thing, the other person tries to find some way of getting rid of it, someone plays a big-ish thing. And it's just sort of like turn 5 and turn 10 are the same, more or less. With aggro decks, because the life total matters so much more, and the threat is different every turn, I think it's a bit more interesting. I certainly find them more interesting to play. I think at some point the novelty of like, man, I should just go face will wear off. But in the meantime, I'm kind of enjoying the learning experience. So I will say that of this, we didn't really do much of the deck's namesake here. We didn't make Vindiz0r. We didn't do a lot of vindicating. I did like the Vindicator plus Void Hunter interaction. Like we did that a couple times, but I don't know that it's. I mean, Vindicator is still a good card, and it's probably perfectly fine to play in these sort of aggro decks where you're just sending 4 damage primordial gazes into their face and stuff. It's actually quite a lot of pressure to do that. It's like a backup Mercantor, Vindicator plus Gazer. It plays well with Kujata as well. So it's nice to more consistently have that burst damage. But I think doing like trying to set up Vindicator into big stuff is tricky, and trying to set up Vindiz0r I think is very tricky. Like the games just end first. With the mechs being kind of a bit nerfed as they are, and then also 2-draw being what it is. You don't need card draw, you just hit them in the face. And you often don't run out of stuff. Yeah, I think annoyingly, because I don't think they're going to do it, because some of the whole point of Duelyst 2 and the design decisions were like, you know, we're going to stick to the stuff that they said they'd do in the Kickstarter the first time around. But like, I gave 2-draw a good shot. Genuinely, like, you know, I was excited at first to like try out the decks and play some new stuff. I think with the card pool the way it is at the moment, 2-draw is a liability, because you just can't grind people out. I mean, you can grind out aggro decks to an extent. If you manage to you play enough healing that you can get to a point where they're drawing their 2 cards a turn and you're playing, you're on 15 plus life and continuously healing, because you just play like 12 healing cards in your Lionel deck. So that's a thing that works. But that's not. I don't think that's fun. Like that's not a particularly compelling metagame to me. And it, the aggro decks can kind of, you can just put Rite of the Undervault in. So aggro Abyss is still like, well, you just play Rite of the Undervault and then do whatever you want. But at least that's fun. Like, I find that more enjoyable to actually do. I think so. This is a bit of a digression on a video about a single deck, but I got some thoughts. So they probably aren't worth an entire video by themselves. So in Magic the Gathering, there's a format called Cube, which is where you basically make your own custom set. You handpick cards from the whole breadth of Magic, do whatever you want, and you can make draft packs with them. You shuffle the whole thing and you compile them into 15 card packs, and you draft them. And it's cool. It's a way to it's very self-expressive. You can curate the collection of cards that you want to play with your friends. And then you can play it for free once you've got it. Maintaining a cube does require card acquisition, but depending on what sort of cube it is, that doesn't have to be expensive. Mine is pretty cheap to maintain. My cubes are, I have a few. One of my cubes is a 2-draw cube. I built a cube where you draw 2 cards a turn, because I really enjoy Howling Mine in Magic, which is a card that makes you draw 2 a turn and effects like it. Magic's a bit different from Duelyst. Magic has these cards called lands, which you need to play in order to get mana. So your deck is less consistent because some of your cards don't do anything, they just give you mana. So drawing 2 cards in Magic is like drawing 1 point something cards in Duelyst, once you've got enough mana. So there's a bit more novelty to having that extra card flow in Magic, where your deck functions at all more consistently, whereas Duelyst is already consistent. You always get your mana. You've got your replaces as well to help sculpt your hand and make sure you don't flood out on too many of the same things. So Duelyst already has a very high degree of consistency. And a big problem in Duelyst and certain Hearthstone metas, Hearthstone has the same sort of problem sometimes, is that like games just play out kind of the same way. Because you're always going to have 6 mana on turn 6 in Hearthstone, 4 or 5 in Duelyst. And you're always, or almost always, going to have your 6-drop by then, especially in Duelyst. And, you know, in Hearthstone it was a bit less predictable, but it was like you had these sort of curve decks where you would just try and play cards that cost X, where X is your amount of mana every turn, you know, up to turn 7 or 8, and you just win the game based on doing that. And in Duelyst, kind of similar-ish. I mean, in Duelyst you tend to play more double spell turns, I feel, but on the flip side, you know, I did the maths once, and you're like 80-something% to play Mercantile Warbeast on turn on curve. Considering it's like the best card in the game, that is unreal. That's unreasonable, right? So in Magic, drawing extra cards allows you to do... It unlocks more possibilities with playing the game in a way that you couldn't before, because now you're probably going to get lands, enough lands to play all your mana and get your colors. And Magic has a lot of cheap, efficient spells. You don't play a lot of 6 mana cards in Magic, whereas you do in games like Duelyst. So it is pretty reasonable that you will run out of stuff, unless you've got some engine that you've assembled that allows you to keep going. My 2-draw cube it leans into that dynamic, so you can play aggressive decks that will, you know, have lots of gas to draw 2 cards a turn. They'll be offset by other decks having the ability to put together combos by drawing through a large portion of their deck and assembling a critical mass of some effect over a course of often quite a lot of turns, because these decks don't necessarily... You get the same amount of mana, so the games don't necessarily go faster. They just keep going after players would normally run out of gas. And Duelyst 2 is kind of the same in that regard. Or at least in mid-range matchups it is. In the pace of the game is the same, it just keeps going. Like, mid-range mirrors in Duelyst 2, if it wasn't for life totals, you would just keep going until you literally ran out of cards in your deck, because neither of you would ever run out of stuff to do. So, you know, they tend to end because, like, a player gets a bit of a board lead and the other person, like, misses on removing their 5th Ironcliffe Guardian equivalent or whatever. And you stick a Divine Bond. Those are kind of the ways those games end, right? A trump card or pressure that builds up because you had a board lead early. And I've really found that in the 2-draw cube that I have in Magic, it is something of, like, you wouldn't want to play it all the time necessarily. It's very fun, at least I think so. But part of the fun is doing like crazy combos that you can't normally do in cube because they're not consistent enough, and being able to pull together synergies that you can't normally pull together, or like be greedier than you normally would. Those types of synergies, those types of lines of play don't exist in Duelyst and never did, even with the pull card pool of Duelyst 1. There is some combo stuff in Duelyst, but very little. And what there is tends to be nerfed quite readily, or, you know, oppressive. The line in Duelyst, because there's no interaction on your opponent's turn, and because of the way there isn't a lot of interaction with combo full stop. Like, there aren't even a ton of cards that mess up your opponent's combos. There's like, I can think of a couple full stop, right? It's like Mage Sword and Archon, and that's it. So in Magic, there's tons of ways to interact with people's combos. Tons. And tons of ways for those combos to defend themselves. So it gets a lot more interesting. To have games where players have access to a lot of different tools and a wide variety of lines of play that they can make. I think the problem with Duelyst 2's card pool is that it is very creature mid-rangey, and a lot of the cards are either not particularly compelling on their own, they're just sort of random creatures, or find cards that are actually made worse by the very the concise hand size, the fact that like the only things people are actually doing are either going super aggro or playing Ironcliff Guardians every turn, because those are the only things that are worth doing, given the card pool and given 2-draw. I would like to see number one, I would like to see more stuff that isn't just playing minions to the board. I don't know how you avoid dying, and there are not really a ton of different card types you can put together in Duelyst. But I think, you know, something like Mantra, maybe not Mantra itself, but something that is similarly sort of less creature-based, less tempo-based, might be an interesting thing to look at. If there's a type of card that can be added to the game that isn't a creature, that does something else, which is where these interesting type, like my 2-draw cube is full of this stuff. There's a card type in Magic called Artifacts, and they just sit there and they have abilities, but they don't do any. They don't attack or block or take damage or anything. They just sit there. But get a bunch of them together, and you can play their abilities off each other and make really interesting, complicated engines. And I think it would be interesting if Duelyst had stuff like that. Maybe something that was easier to interact with, but maybe something that is not quite so easy to interact with as, let's say, buildings. Because right now everything is interacted with in the same way, by hitting it with minions and playing removal spells. And it is a hard line to tread, adding new card types without making them impossible to remove when they are too good. So you need to introduce some kind of counterbalance, but I think that might be cool. Number two, I think the hand size and the amount of mana you can have need to increase. I think it would be really nice if you could play 2 big minions in one turn. Once you got to 11 mana, 12 mana. I think it would be really nice if you weren't constantly fighting the hand size limit. Constantly. It's like in Duelyst 1, Arcanist Fae regularly had to manage its hand size because cards like Circulus and Blue Conjurer would fill it up very aggressively, and it was part of the skill of playing the deck. But also, that was just one deck. Most decks didn't have this problem. Like, very occasionally you would mill a card with a Spelljammer or whatever. Very occasionally. But, by and large, there just wasn't something you were worried about. In Duelyst 2, mid-range decks with no card draw are constantly having to fight their own hand size. People are playing Sundrop Elixir in control decks because A, it's fine against the aggro decks and you aren't going to get punished for using cards on minor effects because it's 2-draw, but B, because you need to be able to empty your hand in order to draw more cards. Like Sundrop Elixir in 2-draw basically reads 1 mana, heal 5, draw a card, because often your hand is full and you're just like playing your big minion and then playing a Sundrop Elixir alongside it because it's the a way to use 1 remaining mana. And then you draw back up to 6. So I think one of the things that would help Duelyst 2 is increasing that hand size limit considerably. Like, not just to 7 or 8, but like 10, 12. Make it infinite, I don't care. Like it. I think managing hand size limit is annoying in card games. And yeah, there's some UI concerns if you have 40 cards in your hand, but like, you do it in Magic Arena, like, yeah, it makes the game lag, but it's funny. Who cares? It only comes up 1 in every 5,000 games or whatever, and like, you know, some streamer builds a meme deck where you draw your entire deck, or someone's trying to combo off, like, it'll require some redesign of the actual UI with the slots and things, but it'll be worth it. I think it'll make the game better. If we are, and I realize this is going to sound very disparaging, but like if we are stuck with 2-draw, because I really do think that the original change was made for a good reason. But if we are going with 2-draw, and if that is locked in, that is never changing, then I would like to see the game designed around it a lot more than it is. I think we need very few cards that are just random bodies, because right now the entire game is random bodies and none of them feel great to play. I think we need a lot fewer cards that are just random bodies, more cards that do weird stuff, cool stuff, cheap cards that do interesting things, where you can, you know, play multiple cards in one turn and start triggering synergies without being like, oh, if I play Dancing Blades, I have to discard. It doesn't kill the thing anyway, which is a lot of the game right now. Will any of this weird, cool stuff beat Divine Bond? I don't know. Divine Bond, I feel like one of the ways to punish these Lionheart decks, right, is double spelling. If you Martyrdom an Ironclad Guardian and then play something else, and you do that 2 or 3 times, you can win the game that way. The problem is that they get to run so much healing that the only other way to win the game, pressuring them out, doesn't work. If there was another way to set up a win, right, if you're killing their stuff or repulsor beasting them or whatever, and then developing combo pieces or setting up some kind of synergy, some kind of permanent bonus, whatever it is, that means that they can't just run 14 healing cards and win for free, right? Against aggro decks. Aggro decks should also exist, but they'll be more emboldened if these Lionheart decks aren't just running full playsets of Sundrop Elixirs, A, because maybe they don't have to fight their own hand size anymore, and B, because there's something else that pressures them on a different axis. Maybe Mantra is what's needed, I don't know, but something like that, you know? Or the Trials, I don't like the old Trials. I think they were too oppressive to control decks. Right? Because they push the pendulum past the other way. Like, you can never outgrind a Cataclysmic Fault or a Zorzul or whatever. So if you're playing Cassava looking to take the game long, forget it. You'll just get buried under an avalanche of dervishes. But something that is less consistent than that, less uninteractive than that, something that's a bit more customizable by the players. Again, I don't know what it is. Is Lurking Fear an interesting direction to go in? Like, these kind of like sets up a permanent buff, you can build around it, and you find some payoff later. I mean, Lurking Fear just made these sort of grindy decks, but you can, you know, you can. One way to beat a Lionheart deck, I guess, would be to remove their Ironclad Guardian and then play 3, 4, or 5 drops because they're all discounted massively. So maybe that is the sort of thing that would start to work, you know? Like, what if Golem Metallurgist was a opening gambit that gave a permanent cost reduction to golems? It changes the sort of golems you can make. It was maybe a bit swingy, but if there was another card that was the same, it was more consistent. I don't know. I'm just literally throwing ideas off the top of my head, but basically I think we need to see something that can beat the current sort of tier 1 decks in an interesting way, because the mirrors between them are rubbish to play, in my opinion. And yeah, playing like Blind Scorch Zenru is nice. That is one way to go over the top of it, but the rest of the deck is just like full of really naff cards that are like, I want something to do, you know? Some of this is the card pool, but I think it is exacerbated by 2-draw making so many of the cards kind of irrelevant. Most card draw, irrelevant. Most creatures that cost more than 3, irrelevant. Or played as a necessary evil. Most decks that would look to trade up or get value out of their cards, also irrelevant. You're not going to be able to do that. And so I think that if we're going to have 2-draw, then we need a different core set. We need a lot more cards that are designed to play in 2-draw and not just be bodies. Or you go back to 1-draw. But I don't think they're going to do that. Anyway, that's some thoughts that I've had. I was very excited to jump into Duelyst 2 when it first launched, and I've been my interest has kind of dropped off a little bit. And partly it's because, when they first re-released it, there were card changes, loads of card changes. And then we played the game and found that most of the reworked cards were crap. Which sort of put a dampener on things a little bit. And then I've also found that I think most of the cards that you do play, even the ones that were perfectly fine before, Healing Mystics and Primus Fists of the world, just don't feel super interesting. I think a lot of that is just 2-draw. So, yeah. I think radically, maybe it is just like compressing the market. Can Dancing Blades cost 4? Probably not, but like, can it? Is that going to help? Probably that's not going to help. Why would that help? But that card, I always thought the Dancing Blades was like just such a nice cornerstone card for Duelyst. And it feels quite underwhelming in 2-draw. Just need to buff Dancing Blades. Everything will be fine. No, I genuinely though, I really would like to see a reworking of the card design process and the way the game plays, so that 2-draw is a feature, not a bug. Yeah. Anyway, going back to thank you to Awruko for sending me their deck. I do very much appreciate it. We had a good time running at people with bodies and Kujata. And I don't have any decks lined up as of right now. I've got a day though, so if I'll have a look next day, and see if there's anything I can build, or maybe just go back to my older decks, have a bash. So I'll try and make another couple of videos for Duelyst 2 before it goes away again. And then it's on to the launch, I guess, and we'll see what's changed and how much things have evolved when the game comes out for real quite soon. Catch you in a bit.